Welcome to the sample project for adding a sketch motion callout. When you reach the end of this tutorial, you should be able to complete the following tasks in Camtasia Studio. Insert a callout to your video. Adjust the position and duration of the callout. Change the properties and effects. And delete a callout from the timeline. Once you've imported the Camtasia recording to the clip bin, right-click on the CamRec and choose Add to Timeline. In the Editing Dimensions dialog window, choose the automatic preset from the drop-down menu with dimensions of 640 by 360 and click OK. Callouts are a great effect to use when trying to bring focus or attention to a specific area in the video. The first step you'll need to do is find a point in your video where a callout could be used. In this example, position the playhead around 1 minute and 11 seconds, and we'll add a callout around the viewing option buttons being talked about. To add a callout, either click on the Callouts tab and then click the Add Callout button, or for a much quicker way, use the hotkey C to instantly add the last used callout to the timeline. With the callout selected on the timeline, expand the Shape menu to see a variety of callouts to use. I encourage you to play around with each of these to see which ones you'd like to use in your video projects, but for this tutorial, we'll focus on using the new sketch motion callouts. Select the square callout and it will appear in the preview window. Just drag to reposition the callout on the window and resize the callout so that it fits around the buttons that we want to bring focus to. If you are unable to resize the callout to fit the way you want around the buttons, expand the Effects menu and uncheck next to Keep Aspect Ratio. This will allow you to resize the callout around the viewing option buttons. Once positioned the way you want it, you can change the color of the border from this menu. Be sure to choose something that is easy to see and will draw the viewer's attention. Under the Properties section, you'll find a Draw Time and Fade Out slider. The Draw Time slider controls how long it takes for the callout to be sketched onto the video. 1 second is usually a good place to start, but you can adjust this depending on what best fits the video. The Fade Out slider controls how long it takes for the callout to disappear at the end. You'll notice that when you adjust these sliders, a blue triangle on the timeline shows how the duration is affected for the callout. Now let's look at how to adjust the placement and length of the callout on the timeline. You'll notice that the video zoomed to this new location right before we added this callout. You'll want to make sure that the callout appears after the zoom ends and not during the zoom, where it will show up on the screen before we want it to, like this. So drag the callout to position it after the zoom keyframe. It might be helpful to zoom in on the timeline a little bit to help position the callout. To adjust the length of the callout, hover over one of the edges and then click and drag to resize the length of the callout. To test the look of the callout, position the playhead before the callout and play it back to see if it's correct. And then make adjustments as needed. If you decide that you don't want a particular callout, right-click the callout and choose Remove from Timeline. That's all for this sample project on adding a sketch motion callout. If you haven't already, download the zip file and import the CamRec file into Camtasia Studio to practice everything covered in this tutorial. Thanks and good luck.